Hello, welcome to the presentation on climate change version 1.005. Uh, this is a bonsai upgraded software presentation and it will be updated every 4 months. One of the key challenges to climate change, to solving the problem of climate change is it's not one problem, but 99 hard problems. To to best resolve this issue, we could use software to help represent a large complex system. Especially the top of the tree, we should continuously refine until we have it down to the simplest representation possible. It is like the 99 hard problems is like the end game of a 100 by 100 code game. It is extremely complicated and it's very difficult to sort of orient towards one section or the other. It's hard to focus on the entire board. Everything is interconnected. More accurately, it's not an 100 by 100 goal game, but more like a 1,000 by 1,000 or 10,000 by 10,000. It's impossible for the human mind to fully understand without months of studying. Much like how the 2-degree innovation makes measuring climate change simpler, all of this is indicating that the Earth will warm to 4 degrees by 2050. How can we add to this innovation, make more innovations to make the representation simpler? We can study the societal complex systems, like the largest software systems of the world, how they update and represent and maintain the software systems, and the largest financial systems. Also, we could study video game systems, like the largest online video games, where they have millions of users and they have to update their software every couple of months to retain their customers, like World of Warcraft or EVE Online. One possible innovation that's sort of like the 2-degree innovation is this tier list to tier lists. How can we use software to simplify, and not only simplify but just improve and make sense out of this hodgepodge of a situation? This is a tier list of a mature tier list of about mobile games And this is a possible tier list about the top portion of the the top portion of the tree of climate change. Um, what there are many benefits to this tier list. One of the benefits is that you can double you can this is the actual tier list online, and you can rearrange it, and you can add more icons. Um, uh, there are many benefits to this software representation. You can sequence the importance instead of having a list that's perhaps 50 items long. You can simplify and have a list that's shorter. You you can structure it. You can structure the list, which means that it has a structure rather than just sort by the highest denominator. You can nest and rearrange it. So for the topic, for the icon slash topic slash mental sort of artifact of energy, we can make a second tier list that's nested under this icon. So you can double click this icon and it will provide the next tier list. It standardizes a mental artifact like this into a more memorable form. It sort of integrates other parts of your mind other than the sort of word processing part of your mind. It integrates the visual part of your mind, and it's simple. It's an icon. It doesn't need word. It doesn't even need words. It's much better than like this terminology, which does not make any sense unless you make the effort to translate it. It enables prioritization. In a glance, you can see which sort of components to that you can prioritize, and also it enables the banzaiing out and merging down. For instance, the current removal the current carbon removal technologies is not enough. So we move it down to this F tier, and it will get banzaied out or merged into another category. Also, if an item that's nested is important enough, the battery technology category is nested under energy, but since it contributes so much to this 100 by 100 goal game, it we take it out and we move it to this sort of root of the tree, so to speak. Um, so so there are numerous advantages, and you can add more if you feel that you need a more category. You can add another category as like here, and you can add more tiers. You can add more icons, but it will be structured, and you can move the tiers down or up easily. So for the sort of the root of the tree, we have energy, transportation, battery tech. That's on the S tier. It seems that energy is uh, the main um thing to focus on, and battery tech helps a lot with it. And transportation is is also a thing to focus on. And then we have forest consumption, in industry and meat. Um, so consumption, meat, forest, and industry. Uh, Industry doesn't seem to be as contributive as transportation or energy. And also virtualization is a solution that should be nested under consumption. But virtualization, when we exist in the virtual world and consume virtual goods, we're not consuming physical goods. So that's also a very large solution to the problem. Sunshade, game models, and removal. Um, this one, this one, uh, is what we have mentioned, the 2-degree innovation. How can we model this 100 by 100 Go game accurately? How can we introduce innovations to sort of gamify or model the sort of uh, process? Some of the sub-tier categories, for example, for forest, you can just double click on forest and it will produce a entirely new one that has new sort of another tier list. And then if we sort of branch it down lower enough, we can get actionable public policy sort of items that we can implement via law or other measures. So for the forest, it's development, developing countries, how to transport and produce the food? How do we construct a global monitoring apparatus? How do we address housing issues? And also, how do we factor in the sort of free lumber, the public cost of the free lumber part? And the sub-tier of energy might include electricity generator, wind, solar, fusion, refrigerant. A second topic is plasticity. The subjects mentioned in this presentation are beyond my circle of competence. I'm not trained or have no experience in the sector, but there is some merit for a non-expert to review and contribute. It simplifies, it provides a fresh look, it enters the analysis with a plastic mindset. If we combine neuroplasticity and problem solving, we have a perspective on the frameworks of the problem. This is a quote by Orrin Hatch. If I'm not boring, then I'm not doing my job well. Having worked as a biologist, I can tell you that science is very boring and very tedious work. So the scientists that have risen to the top of their fields have 10 years of training and 40 years of rigorous work. This detracts from the plastic mindset, and it saps the neonatal that's connected to the plastic mindset. An approach to this plastic mindset is to compare the presidential actions of FDR and Hoover. FDR approached the situation like everything is not set in stone, that we can sort of change some of the components around. But Hoover sort of said everything is set in stone and no component should be sort of moved around. But FDR, we can't have too much plasticity, like FDR's Supreme Court enlargement plan. One way to add plasticity is by neonatal humor and pets. A practical solution is to buy a cute pet for members of the IPCC board. The next section is political capital. Hypothetically, every administration starts with $1,000 of political capital. Gradually, the amount of large policies that an administration can buy is reduced. The FDR hypothetically had 100,000, while a modern president has 1,000. There are numerous reasons for this reduction in political capital. Increased societal complexity, numerous special interests, acceleration of the income gap, and short-termism myopia. Hank Paulson mentioned that the only time when large policies can sort of be enacted is in a troubling era. There is a strong incentive to preserve the status quo, which is not all bad because studies, some of the privatization efforts worked, but some doesn't work. The the uh, the why this sort of is moved to the forefront is that currently we live in a time where acceleration of technological problems requires these large macro scale policies that is particularly difficult, that requires $100,000 of political capital. How would the historical reformers like Diocletian tackle this problem? And FDR? Much like Andrew Yang suggested that we start a ministry of attention economy, perhaps we can start a ministry to sort of at least transform this $1,000 into $10,000. Have we reached peak complexity for the current version of government? The risk reward for large macro scale policies is skewed. This is a novice opinion. Strong incentives to preserve the status quo, delayed productive effect, and also one of the things about this is that it doesn't have to be a tier list. It can also be other representations, like you can change this to 2022. You can add the time frame to there, and it will be not a tier list, but it will be like by 2050 we'll be able to enact the removal because perhaps fusion has been developed. USAfacts.com .org condenses the numbers and the numbers and into an annual report that sort of is a practice from corporate governance. What other best private sector corporate governance practices can be grafted onto the government to sort of prevent this reduction in political capital, especially in terms of agile self-reorganization. Can we destroying the Titanic? Can we invest middle-level managers with more autonomy and particularly rewards? I think Singapore pays their has stringent anti-corruption laws, but pays their public servants very well. And can we sort of invest the middle-level managers with the same sort of autonomy and rewards? This is related to this one. What particular sort of concepts contributes most to the energy per capita? And one of the ways to address this a disconnect between public costs and private sort of gain is China's social capital innovation. It adds an additional layer of incentivized system. And are there any other innovations like that we can add here that will make an impact to energy and transportation? One of the reporters covering the climate change story is that it's the same dull, grim story. At a time where the boredom tolerance index for the public is sharply declining, where everybody looks for novel entertainment, the story is not does not provide enough excitement. How do we meet the very, very difficult challenge of having it interest the public? How do you sell the unsellable? One of the solutions to this challenge is if we look at Final Fantasy VII, there's a commercial that shows the sort of 20 years ago when it was released, how people still remember, what they were doing at the time, and it has become a cultural phenomenon to penetrate the collective consciousness, and it is an engaging story that weaves together multiple elements that are exciting to the youth, and it tells the story of how we are sort of siphoning the life stream of the earth. There's a life stream that's the base of all things, and we're siphoning it out for personal self-aggrandizement. So how can we interest the public? This is a Google sort of search term. How can we bring climate change up to where NASA is, so to speak? How can we introduce new macro systematic change, but in a measured, sort of contemplative and very serious manner? And another tangent is how is the Great Acceleration. It only takes 10 minutes to start your own presentation about climate change. You can download this sort of presentation in the description. Please feel free to use this presentation in your presentation. Watching and producing presentations makes you a branching loci for change, and educates you and those around you. This presentation is placed in the public domain. Thank you very much, and have a good day.